So at Tombstone Tourist, we like to be rather objective, and fairly enough, we were not objective recently. On Drake Bell's video, we didn't give his side the best, and we were going to make this part 2 anyways to kind of give his side of things, but we had someone crying in our comments section to speed things up. So, to help with this poor man's tears, here's part 2. I'm Rugburn.
And I'm Pickled Landon.
And this is Tombstone Tourist. You remember old Drake Bell?
I do.
He got into our comments recently, and apparently I'm an idiot.
We both are. You know, we're both dumb.
Yeah, and he didn't like what we said about him in his first video. And to be fair, we leaned heavily into the victim's testimony. Shouldn't have done that. We really should have given both sides, let his side of things play out a little bit as well, and just kind of taken it from a more objective path. And we kind of let our feelings on the situation override how we did that video.
You can also get lost in the sauce.
How you get lost in the sauce?
Which we shouldn't do.
After a rewatch, we decided that this did deserve a follow-up video to give somebody their side of the story, which is what we want to do here on the podcast, is be objective as possible.
We do have the exact charges he was charged with, what happened, and what he said, and we have it all written up. If you'd like to go ahead and take the floor.
Yep. Drake was charged with attempted endangerment of children and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles.
And what are those? Misdemeanors, felonies?
Attempted endangering of children is a felony, and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles is a misdemeanor. The disseminating harmful matter to a juvenile, that relates to the text messages that they were exchanging between each other. And at a certain point, he asked for her age. And they found all this during discovery. This we know is true. As soon as he found out her age, he stops talking to her. But she continues to pay for meet and greets and go to concerts and stuff.
And that's where the endangering of a child.
Yes. What he did is he basically accepted these charges to push the whole thing through because the victim became upset at a certain point and started to, you know, the whole story. We gave it in the first video.
I would like to say, too, that this was all pre-trial. He pled out. He pled guilty, no contest, which means there was not 12 jurors of his peers sitting in and, you know, negotiating or deciding whether or not he was guilty or innocent. This was him pleading pre-trial, which typically will happen to help save the state and or the feds costs on resources, things of that nature. And it's typically also offered to give the person that's being charged a more lenient sentence more times than not. So the sentencing could have been more strict and his outcome could have been less favorable had he not pled no contest, not guilty to these charges. So
in our first video, we talk about a court hearing where the victim made statements after the pretrial plea bargain deal, where she tried to exacerbate the situation. She made statements that she had had sexual intercourse with Drake Bell. Giving his side of the story, Bell states, "I want to make clear that there were no sexual images, nothing physical between me and this individual. I was not charged with anything physical. I was not charged with disseminating of photographs or images like that. This is strictly over text messages, and when I was presented with a plea deal because of the messages, I felt that it was the best way to get over it quickly, and for everyone involved to be able to move on, and for me to go back to doing what I love, and that's making music for you." So this is all over messages, and that's, I think, what the biggest deal was in the comments, what people thought that we were saying what the victim said at trial as facts, when that was just testimony. Mm-hmm. We were just relaying testimony that she had stated.
Correct. And testimony doesn't necessarily mean that it's true nor false. It's just something that is pretty much hearsay. You can't prove one way or another. All we can do and say for certain is what he was charged with. So we felt the need to go ahead and show what he was actually charged with and what those charges were for. So this is trying to be as objective as possible and just showing you guys what exactly Drake Bell was looking at and why he was looking at those charges. And we would also like to, you know, kind of send some well wishes to Drake. He kind of lost it a little bit. After commenting on our video, he had kind of a mental breakdown of sorts, and he went missing for a short period of time and was considered endangered.
The article that we did read said that the last interaction on social media he had was between March 3rd and 6th, but he did comment on our podcast on the 10th.
With that being said,
we are deeply sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. We're sorry. Sorry.
I'm Rugburn,
And I'm Pickled Landon.
and this is Tombstone Tourist.